Hi guys, welcome to another lecture with me on communication skills. I'm hoping that you people are already acquainted with me. If you still haven't checked me out on the internet, the links are there in the description. You can understand where is it that I'm coming from, what is it that my background is, and how is it that I can be of a little help to you in your journey for whatever course that you're preparing, for whatever institution that you want to be a part of, or if you want to crack a corporate interview. Then I can be of little help from the background and the experience that I'm coming from. Moving forward to the topic of the day, I have received a bulk of emails from you guys about the online interviews because now this year the situation has changed a little bit because of the pandemic and the situation that pandemic has created. The institutions will not be able to conduct the personal interview in the personal way that they were conducting it in the yesteryears. This year, these people have decided of taking it online, and when the things go online, there are a lot of things that change. Although the personal interview is all about knowing you as an individual, which is not going to change as the goal of this particular round, but the way in which you convey that information to the examiner obviously is going to be a lot different from the way that you would have done it if this interview would have been a face-to-face interview, right? So this becomes very important that you follow this piece of information. This is something that the corporate has been doing for a long time now. We people have been conducting interviews. I have been part of online interviews myself for opportunities that were in different states, for opportunities that were based abroad, and there were so many people who talked to me. People participate in webinars. So online interviews and online interactions have been around for a long time. But when it comes to the formal conversation, it gets a little tricky. There are certain things that you might be required to take care of necessarily if you want to make it to the institution of your choice, because there are people on the other side of the camera who are there to judge you. So before any further ado, let's go ahead and talk about these few things that are really important for you to make it to the institution of your choice. The first thing that you have right in front of you right now is called the mind map. I'm pretty sure that you people are already aware of a thing called mind map. What do I need it for, and what is the meaning of this? I need this mind map so that I can tell you what is it that you will be required to do when you are facing a personal interview. Also, a mind map can be created for any piece of information that you wish to remember ever. This is a great strategy to remember things. So if you are one of those candidates who finds it really difficult to memorize things, try googling this. This will help you in a big way. When it comes to this particular mind map, I want you to consider certain questions that might be really important for you when you are going to be in a personal interview situation. Now, when I say personal interview situation, it is independent of the medium on which this particular interview is happening. If it is a telephonic round, or if it is a face-to-face round online, or if this is a college interview wherein you are going in for a personal interview, which is face-to-face physical presence, right? So independent of that, these are going to be those sort of questions which are going to help you solve everything that might be asked of you in the given personal interview situation. When I'm talking about this personal interview, the first thing that comes to your mind is, why do I need to get through this round? Why is it that somebody is conducting this interview? The first thing that you need to understand is the utility of this round. After a lot of academic rounds that you people have been through, a lot of examinations that you people have already written, the thing is that knowledge only happens to be about 30% of what you are going to utilize in your life. 30%, and that's it. 70% of it is going to be your ability to communicate that knowledge, also to communicate what is it that you mean by the gain, or by the gain of that wisdom that you have done, right? So this is very important. This, that is communication, entails 70% of your ability to become successful in your life. Whatever technical knowledge that we gain, all through our years of education amounts to only 30% of it. That is the reason personal interviews have been incorporated widely across every selection procedure, be it a college interview, be it a job interview, be it anything, right? That is the reason this becomes really, really important. First thing. Second is there are certain questions that I have in front of you. Why do you need this? Wait, I think that the pen is not working. It should. So when I say why do you need it? Now the first why is why this college. Now this is a very, very important question that most of the institutes have started asking their candidates. And the next question that they ask you is why you? Why not any other candidate? This is again a very important question that you would need to find the answer for, right? So the next thing that becomes important here is what is it that you want from this course? What is it that your expectations are? So these two questions, that is why and what, are really, really important for you to know. These are two questions that are going to be asked of you here in this online interview that you are going to appear in just a few days. Also, this is going to be asked of you when you people appear in any interview all through your life. So the answer, the most probable answer to the first one, that is why this college, because you understand that there are other colleges that are offering this course as well, and you cannot say that you people are only going to sit for an examination in this college, you are not going to appear in any other college, because that's not true and everybody knows that, right? So then in this case you will have to tell the examiner the right thing, that though I am going to appear in other institutions, I have filled in forms for the college ABC, the college XYZ, the idea is that I understand in this college the practical knowledge that I'm going to get along with the theoretical knowledge is absolutely exemplary, right? The other is why you. Now, one is that yes, obviously you have qualified in terms of the written examination. You also scored a really high score in whatever academics that these people are considering. Then you can tell them that you have been a part of training or a project or something that is different from the other candidates. And the last is your accolades. All of those things are mostly the same for the bulk of candidates that are going to be there. Yes, these are important. I'm not saying that you're not supposed to talk about these. You are going to talk about these, but these are not the only things that you are going to. So once you've talked about these three things, that is your qualification, your training, and your accolades, I want you to also contribute and a piece of information that is very, very personal about you. That is, you've got certain capabilities that the others don't. And by that, I don't really mean just these words called leadership, just these words called team spirit, and a word called honest. I don't mean these words. I want you to give me a specific story about you. I want you to share an experience from your life until now, as in it's not the whole life that you have seen in front of you, but then there must be something that you must have done in your life, and I want you to share that experience, which is going to prove to me that you are really a true candidate, you are an honest person, that you are a leader, and you are a person who likes to play in the team, right? Who is a team player, who likes to build a team and be a part of it. So those are a few things that are going to set you apart from the other candidates in the room. Right? I'm going to talk about that in a little depth in the subsequent slides. The next that I want you to talk about is the when. That is, when you enter that room, this becomes really important for you to understand that there are certain things that are really crucial. One is when you enter that room on that date, you need to be there on time. Now, this is something that is subjective in terms of the interview type that you're appearing in. If you're appearing in a personal interview situation, then in that case, be there on time. If you are in an online interview situation, then be logged in at the time when you are required to be there. Right? Be logged in. Do not wait. Do not prolong the meeting, and don't be late for that meeting. Be logged in. The other is dress for the job. That is, you need to know that this is although happening back at home, but you need to be dressed in the formal. You cannot do with a t-shirt, you cannot do informally. You have to be prepared for that meeting, right? And the last is your first impression in this situation of an online interview. In most cases is going to be your last impression. You will not get a chance to redeem yourself, right? So a word of caution, a big word of caution when it comes to your first impression. This is very, very important. What happens in a personal interview, which is face to face physical personal interview, what happens there is that you still get a lot of opportunities to redeem yourself with your non-verbal cues, with your mannerisms and everything. But when it comes to your online situation, if you haven't placed a really nice impression, that is a first impression on your interviewer, you will not be able to redeem yourself again, because in most cases these are timed interviews and the interviewer will not give you more than 15 minutes also. So you need to remember that the only thing that is visible in this round is going to be this half of yours, right? So I cannot see most of your non-verbal mannerisms, so this becomes a little difficult. So be very, very precise there. Do not make the interviewer wait. Do not be informal in your speech or in the way that you're seen, and be very prompt in your approach. The next is the thing that I need to show when I am in an online interview situation or an offline interview situation, whatsoever that might be the case. There are these three things that set me apart from any other candidate. That is enthusiasm, knowledge and confidence. So if you were to ask me, sir, is current affairs important for this round? Yes, it is. Current affairs is not something that the person wants to really test you on, because they have already tested you on your current affairs situation and your current affairs knowledge. But this is a good icebreaker. Even if you were to go outside, talk to somebody, you are mostly going to talk about things that are contemporary, things that are happening today. Hence, this is something that is an icebreaker. This is really, really important. When you are sharing all of those pieces of information, be very enthusiastic. Your enthusiasm is also going to be seen when you will be sharing the story that I was talking about in this part, right? So you need to be very, very enthusiastic. You need to make it feel as if you want to talk to that person. If you're going to be doing it in a way that you've been compelled to do it, it's your obligation to talk to them, then the interviewer is not going to feel happy about it and they might not induct you in their course, right? So this is very important. The last is, whatever that you do, whatever that you share, do that with a lot of confidence. Do not mellow down. Do not let your energy drop. Do not make the interviewer feel that you're scared. There is nothing to get scared of. It's just a conversation. This is not even an examination. In most cases, you don't even have one answer for all of these things. You can quote anything in terms of whatever that you feel is correct according to you. So you're free to do so much. So in this case, you have nothing to be afraid of. The last, that is, where is it that you are in your preparation about the institution of your choice? This is very, very important again as a question. What do I mean by this? There are certain things that today the institutions have started asking you. Why? Because they want to know that the candidate is really willing to come down to their institution and is also acquainted with the institution well. What do they ask you in such a situation? They generally ask you the way in which you commuted to their college, right? So if this is a physical interview, then they can ask you what all did you find on your way. So this is just a general aptitude. This is your ability to be observant and attentive. Also, they want to know if you are taking this as a conscious decision or is this just a backup choice. So here also I can understand, even if you would have answered this question correct in terms of why is it that you want to be a part of this institution, but you did not show a lot of enthusiasm here, then I can very well understand that you are not the right candidate. Why? Because you're not enthusiastic about this institution. If you would have been enthusiastic, you would have seen what all places are around, how long did it take for you to travel from your place to this place, how big is the college, will you be able to accommodate in this area or not, do you like the vicinity of the college or not, if you have the your favorite restaurants around or not, and if there isn't one, then will you be able to make do with it for 3 or 4 years of your life? So this again becomes a very contemporary question. This is something that the institutes have started asking. Why? Because they were seeing a huge dropout rate. So once you take an admission in a college, and a year later you realize that this is not the best college, this is not the best place where I could have been, and hence you switch, the colleges lose their revenue. So this becomes really important for the college to know. The next is if you can take a look at the nearby things and what all facilities that are available to you. All of these can be asked of you in one way or the other when the interviewer is trying to understand what is it that you know about the college and how well can you fit into the situation of the college, right? Let me clear this. Next that you have here are the key things that are going to make you look confident, and there are things that are going to make you feel comfortable in front of the camera, right? These are two things that you will have to be, that is confident and comfortable, because all of this is now happening in front of a camera, not in front of a person, right? So there are certain things that become really important for you to take care of. First is that there ought not to be any distraction in the room that you're sitting in, right? So set up a very quiet room. You shouldn't have your dog loitering around in the room while you are in an interview situation. Don't let your younger brother or your elder sister move around in the room while you are in that interview situation. Also, don't let your mom ask you for tea while you are in that interview situation, right? It's just about 15-20 minutes of interaction, so just make that worthwhile. The other is that the place where you're sitting very well be clean and tidy. This is again a very important thing. Most of the students forget about this. Hence you should sit at a place which is clean. You shouldn't have a pile of books right besides you, and while you are talking, while you're moving and using your hands, all of that pile drops on you. So that looks really embarrassing and is obviously not considered not considered to be good by the interviewer. Next is proper light on your face. Since this is a very important interview wherein the interviewer is only able to see the upper part of your body, which is your face. So this is the most important thing that you can show the interviewer, because this is the only thing that the interviewer is going to take your non-verbal cues from. So while you are talking, obviously the conversation is happening, but there are so many things that happen on your face which are going to be absorbed by the interviewer. Hence this is very important for you that you have proper light in front of your face. So you can see the difference if you are sitting in a dark room that nobody is really able to see most of your expressions. So vis-a-vis a room wherein it's well lit, you have light coming in from the front and it's well lit. So it's something that the people can see you with. So this is again very important. Next is if this meeting is going to happen over an open source wherein the institute hasn't given you their own username, then do not use very creative usernames like cool boy and Barbie girl and things like that. Don't use usernames of that sort. Make things very clear, very normal, very corporate. Just use your name with your last name, or and don't even incorporate those birth years and birth dates and things like that. If you are free to use a username that you're independent to do that, then in that case do not create something that is funky. Fashion is not what you are going to get marked on. The next is it becomes very irritating for the examiner as well if the network is not proper. Just the way that you people might have realized when we people are interacting, if the network falls apart, it gets a little difficult for you. Sometimes my voice is not audible properly. So That is the situation that you don't want in the interview session. You don't want your examiner to feel bad about the interview that that person is conducting. So you are going to test all of that equipment that you have at your disposal. It's not just about the internet connection. You're also going to check your laptop before you move into that. If you're using a tablet for the interview, test that as well, that it is working well. The next is use a headset if you have one. This also becomes really important. Why? Because if you are unable to hear the examiner's questions, then in that case it will leave a really bad impression of yours, because you will be asking that question again and again, and the interviewer might not feel comfortable in doing that. So this is one thing that you will have to take care of. If you've got the bigger phones, that is the headphones, that is what you would want to use. If you are thinking of the ones that you use with your mobile phone, don't do that, because they have their microphones here and it will rattle against the collar of your shirt, or it will rattle against something, and that creates a really rusty noise when it comes to the other end. So don't use that. Use headphones which are not going to raise against your collar. They will not create a rattling sound. The other is, I've already talked to you about this, that is dress properly. This is really integral. If you do not dress formally, the interviewer will mark you inappropriate, because you cannot be at ease. Even if this interview is happening back at your home, you have to show yourself as the best available candidate in the market. The other is practice your body language, and here body language is restricted to your eyes. So this becomes really important that you understand where the camera is and you keep looking at the camera. Your eyesight should not sway away a lot from the camera. That means you shouldn't be looking at your mother for answers, you shouldn't be looking at your father for answers, you shouldn't be looking at your dog who's moving around. So all of those things are going to look bad on the camera. Here, the minute you move your eyes away from the camera, the other person can see it, and this is the reason that the most of non-verbal communication is going to happen with your eyes. So this becomes really important. And the last is, you have your documents handy with you while you are going to sit for this particular session or this interview. Why am I saying so? Because it could be a situation in which the examiner ends up asking you, what all accolades do you have, what all certificates did you gather, and then you happen to tell them that this is the sort of certificate that I got for playing cricket back at my school, and they tell you to show that. So then in that case, you can't tell them, wait, let me ask my father, or my mom must have kept it in the cupboard, let me draw that out and then I'll show it to you. So I can't do that. So this is the reason that I want you to stay prepared with all of your documents right on the same table that you're keeping your laptop on, right? So this is really an important piece of information. Again, something that most of the students forget, and they get themselves in a soupy situation. I don't want you to do that. These are just those important points that you will have to remember 100% of the times before you move into the interview session.